All right, everybody, welcome back. This is the Horn Takes podcast, your very rough around the edges Texas sports talk destination. I'm your host, Sean Redfern. It's Exaggeration Monday. We're going to hit our Trace Otra games recap from week 12. It's a short week this week. Thursday's Thanksgiving, Friday's Texas Longhorns versus Texas Tech Red Raiders. So today, Drunk Sean and Sober Sean will kind of battle it out on Exaggeration Monday because we're not going to really have, well, we're really not going to have an after-action review. So we're going to have Exaggeration Monday and after-action review all on the same day. We'll have Deep Dive Tuesday tomorrow. It's normally Deep Dive Thursday. We'll have our 4 keys and a prediction on Wednesday, and then we head down to Austin on Thursday morning. We'll be hanging out all around Daryl K. Roya. We will probably be hanging out at the Surly Horns tailgate, which is on the northeast corner of the stadium, kind of right by the LBJ lawn. I think it's actually, if they set up the stage where they normally set up the stage for Austin City Limits, it'll be, or Longhorn City Limits, it'll be right behind the stage, off in that area. That's where we'll probably hang out most of the day on Friday. If you see us, come by and say hello. Put you guys on camera. We'll do some interviews. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. If you just like to listen to podcasts, you can check us out at horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com or anywhere you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Trace Otra games, week 12. So we were 2 for 3 last week. That busted up a really good streak of 3-0s for us. 22-11 coming in on the season. Looking to go 3-0 for the 4th time in the last 5 weeks. Let's see what we got. We had number 21 K-State at number 25 KU. Wasn't sure if Kansas was going to have Jason Bean. He did not end up playing. And I think if they'd have had Jason Bean, they might have had a chance. Also, if they wouldn't have turned the ball over 3 times, they might have had a chance. K-State stays alive for the Big 12 championship race, or in the Big 12 championship race. We had K-State getting it done 38-30. They win the game 31-27. 1-0. Number 5, Washington at number 11, Oregon State. This one was crazy, y'all. Oregon State was the favorite all week long, according to Las Vegas. And as Texas fans, we would have loved nothing more than for Washington to lose that game at Oregon State. But I said, folks, we just ain't that lucky. We're going to take the upset, which is weird to say. The higher-ranked team winning that game was technically an upset. We had Washington winning this one 31-27. Much lower scoring game than I thought it would be. I think the weather might have played a factor. It was raining pretty hard there in Corvallis. We had Washington 31-27. The game was 22-20, but Washington got the win nonetheless. 2-0. Final game, number 1, Georgia at number 18, Tennessee. I think Georgia was like a 10-point favorite, 10.5-point favorite in this game. Georgia obviously starting to look really impressive at the right time. We talked about that the week before. We said Tennessee's only hope was to ambush Georgia. We're talking like 21 points real quick, 28 points out the gate real quick, and then just kind of hold on. They did kind of ambush Georgia a little bit. They scored on the very first play from scrimmage, 25-yard touchdown run. And, man, I don't know who that kid is from Tennessee, but that's a big old kid, and that dude was moving. But then that was it, basically, for the rest of the game. We've had Georgia rolling in this game, 41-16. They end up winning at 38-10. So we go 3-0 in week 12. Puts us 25-11 on the season. Man, if we would have started out at all just decent, we had a lot of 1-3 weeks right in there at the beginning. We would have a really, really, really respectable, really solid record. I mean, I think we're pretty good right now, but a lot of people say you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Iowa State left guard Jared Hufford My man wrote a check that him and his fellow O-line could not cash on Saturday night. For those of y'all that don't know what I'm talking about, you're living under a rock, living on Mars. I don't know where you're living if you haven't heard about this, if you care about college football. Jared Hufford just had a lot of stuff to say about Texas in general. Just how they had too much ego and it needed to get checked. They were going to have a very pleasant surprise for Texas. The Texas defensive line absolutely dominated that game all night long. Certainly responded. Steve Sarkisian sends Byron Murphy and Big Tavondre Sweat out as captains. They asked him about it after the game. He said it was absolutely intentional. I wanted them to see number 90 and number 93. And both of those dudes, you know what's interesting? Tavondre Sweat is so big that he makes Byron Murphy, who is a very large person, look really small. Byron Murphy's 300 pounds. 6'2", maybe, 6'1". Those two dudes are just different, man. And kudos to them for hanging around, going through 2 years of just not fun. And now they get to like kind of reap a little bit of that they sowed. The offense was off most of the night, I thought. Had 2 touchdown passes, two touchdowns erased by penalties in this game. I did think in the second half, though, they kind of picked it up offensively, 2 touchdown passes, and I felt like they were able to run the ball pretty consistently in the second half. Nothing big, just kind of chunking up yardage every other carry or so. We had Texas winning this one 30-17. Or should I really, the Horn Takes podcast score predictor had Texas winning this one 30-17. If I would have picked something a little closer, I think. We talk about these stats, man, and that's what the score predictor's based off of. They just can't predict, like, human stuff. Maybe I need to build, like, some trending into my score predictor. Anyway, Texas wins the game 26-16. Probably the most comfortable 10-point win you'll ever see. I mean, at no point during the game did I ever feel uncomfortable. That doesn't mean Drunk Sean wasn't hollering and screaming and all that good stuff. But I never really, in the years past, I've had these feelings of impending doom when Texas would be in any kind of close game. I just really didn't feel that at all in this game Saturday night. So Texas gets it done on the final road stop on the Big 12 Fuck You Tour. They're 5-0 against the Hateful Eight. Looking to make it a perfect 6-0 this Friday down in Austin. Let's talk about this defense. I usually go offense, defense, special teams, but the defense was just so tremendous in this game, especially that run defense, that I figured we got to start with them. This defense was absolutely soul-sucking against the run Saturday night. And I didn't realize how bad. I mean, I would have told you, Drunk Sean would have said, man, they wore Iowa State's offensive line's asses out. I would have said that. But I didn't really realize how bad it was till I started rewatching the game, looking up the stat lines, all the things we do for the after-action review. 9 yards on 21 attempts. 0.4 yards per carry, folks. That is unbelievable. I don't care who you're playing. The longest run of the night for Iowa State was 6 yards. The front four was just absolutely disruptive. It didn't matter who was in there either. You saw a lot of guys play. You saw a lot of guys make plays. The linebackers played really downhill in this game. Probably the best game these linebackers have played as a unit the entire season. 6 tackles each for Ford, Hill, and Benda. And, man, they were just everywhere. I think if Texas could get half as good on the back end as they are in the front four, they'd have the best defense in college football, and it wouldn't even be close. I think the pass defense was okay most of the night. Wasn't perfect. And you look at the stat line, they did give up 323 yards and a pair of touchdowns on 75% completion. So that kid from Iowa State had a really nice game, and they got a lot of pressure on him. I mean, I don't think Rocco Becht was ever really comfortable in this game. I think they could have done better, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but kind of go back and look at it, though. A lot of that yardage came on 2 plays. They had the long pop pass on 4th and 1 that they got Jaron Thompson sucked up. Very well-designed play, by the way. That one went for 66 yards and a touchdown. And then there was the one-on-one ball in the third quarter that went for 33 yards. Just a nice play. Nice throw by the quarterback. Nice catch. The coverage actually wasn't that bad. He was probably a half step behind. So there's 100 yards right off the bat out of that 323 that really came off 2 plays. I know they still count, y'all. I'm not trying to uncount the yards. I'm just saying. I thought it was more improved, and they certainly did give up some yardage. They certainly gave up a couple of really easy pass touchdowns. But I think generally it wasn't death by 1,000 cuts. Like, they were always able to make some plays and get it reeled back in. One of our 4 keys was to attack Rocco Becht. I mean, I think anytime you got a freshman quarterback, you want to go in there and attack. You want to make them uncomfortable, because freshman quarterbacks make mistakes when they're uncomfortable. Senior quarterbacks make mistakes when they're uncomfortable. NFL quarterbacks make mistakes when they're uncomfortable. I think Texas did an okay job on this key. They did sack him 3 times. And we did see probably more pressure than we're normally used to seeing out of PK's defense. But I don't know. I was kind of hoping for just a Bo Pelini onslaught level type of attack. I was just hoping for a blitzing 9, leaving 2 back type shit. Just completely out of the ordinary for Texas's defense. I think that would have caught them off guard a lot. The little quick slants and stuff, man, just too easy. I don't know. I'm obviously not on the field. I obviously don't get paid millions of dollars to coach or hundreds of thousands of dollars to coach. I just don't know why you want to make things easy on people. The defense took the ball away once. Jaron Thompson, really, really nice play on that interception. There's a really good view of that play from behind the offensive formation. And he was playing deep middle. You see him back there. He's probably 16 yards off the ball at the snap. And Rocco takes the snap, looks off to the right side of off to his right side. Jaron Thompson starts to drift that direction. And then Rocco comes back and tries to throw the little flag route, corner route. And Jaron Thompson covered a lot of ground to just even get in a position to even make a play. He was able to cut underneath it, make a really nice interception. So we always talk about the turnover battle. 1 turnover apiece, so they didn't lose the turnover battle, so that's good. Players that popped defensively, Tavondre Sweat. Blocked extra point, tip pass at the line of scrimmage. Almost had a pass broke up on a little play where he didn't get any pressure. He either didn't get some initial pressure and just kind of hung out, or he read this little screen type play with his tight end running in behind him. He almost got his hand on the ball. He only had 1 tackle, but this dude was in the backfield all night long. And basically, every other huge play that happened in the backfield was because of T'Vondre Sweat. The very first play of the game, he got into the center and pushed him back like 6 yards. I mean, that dude looked like he was on ice skates. What just an absolute phenomenal year for T'Vondre Sweat, man. This dude, he's got to be a first rounder, right? Like, no way an NFL team doesn't pick him like late in the first round. There's just no way. I mean, I guess there is a way. I don't you don't find guys that big, that agile, that disruptive with that kind of motor. I'm going to miss that dude, man. I thought we were going to miss Snacks. And we do. And I thought we were going to miss Moro Ajomo. And we do. But good God. Who's going to be the next T'Vondre Sweat? I don't know. Byron Murphy, his defensive tackle mate, 1.5 sacks. Tons of pressure in the interior all night long. I don't know what else to say about it. Like, these two guys, they got to be the best two defensive tackles in the country. They've got to be. They're certainly the best tandem. Show me a better tandem, and man, I just don't think it exists. Big Alfred Collins. Man, how much have we talked about Alfred Collins on this show? We want Alfred Collins to be so good, so bad. I think the big man probably had his best stat line type game of his career. 3 tackles, 1 sack. Played a lot of the outside technique. We didn't see him line up over the guard or the center all that much in this game. I think that points to his versatility. You saw Vernon Broughton do the same thing most of the game. If you haven't figured it out, our players that popped are all defensive linemen. Just a dominating performance, man. Congratulations to those guys. They took the challenge. They didn't run their mouths. They just went out on the field as businesslike as you could be. And I guarantee you all 4 of those other offensive linemen on that Iowa State offensive line, after a few drives, and especially after the game, were just kind of like, man, I can't believe you said that shit. I can't believe you did us like that. Offense, man, it struggled early on to get any kind of consistent rhythm. They had procedure penalties a lot of the game. Couple of holding calls that hurt them. Quinn Ewers, to me, just still kind of looks a little off. I think he's still dealing with some discomfort, some pain in that throwing shoulder. He missed a lot of throws in this game, especially early on, that I don't think, he would normally miss. He was short on the deep ball all night long. He missed 2 to Mitchell, man, that probably are touchdowns. One of them for sure. He bounced a couple throws early on in the game. One out to Worthy behind the line of scrimmage, and then one like sort of a deep out or deep comeback type route early in the game. Despite all that, he still went for 281 yards, 2 touchdowns on 70% completion. So, I mean, if you're going to have an off night and throw for damn near 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and complete 70% of your passes, I think it's okay for Quinn Ewers to have off night every once in a while. O-line gave up 4 sacks, although I think 2 of them were really on Ewers. He held the ball too long. It's kind of interesting. You look at last year, Quinn Ewers has gone from a guy that I think he bailed out too soon last year on a lot of occasions. And now he's just so comfortable back there that sometimes he tries to extend too long and ends up costing him with a sack. That happened a couple times last night. A couple of them were definitely coverage type sacks, and I held on to the ball too long type sacks. I thought the run game was pretty solid, man, and Texas was able to close this one out on the ground, and That's what Sark wants to do. Sark wants to get the lead, and then he wants to close the game out on the ground. And if they score points while they're closing it out on the ground, so be it. We always talk about being able to situationally do things. Sark is always talking about being able to situationally do things. I thought they were able to situationally put the game on ice. Players that popped offensively, CJ Baxter, man, a lot of people were. So here we go, man. CJ Baxter is a guy that much ballyhooed, like number one running back in the country. He comes in and he gets the nod over Jonathan Brooks, which definitely shocked me. And then you start to see them both play, through a few games, and it's pretty clear to me, Jonathan Brooks is the guy. Of course, CJ Baxter gets nicked up a little bit, spends a few games hobbling around. He's not even close to 100%. But he just hasn't, he's shown some flashes, don't get me wrong, but not a lot of consistency. So I think, heading into this game without Jonathan Brooks, I know I was, man, can they get it done, And I know the offensive line's good, and I know that, man, probably, I don't care how good of a running back you are. If the offensive line's not giving you some space, you're not doing anything. So we all get it, man. The offensive line has to make some space. But then there are some things that certain guys are just good at that turn that space into big yardage. And really just he hadn't done that. Well, CJ Baxter has to be the man this week. 20 carries, 117 yards, 5.9 yards per carry. I thought that dude had a hell of a game. I think 5 of his 20 carries went for over 10 yards. Good to have a big, healthy running back room. Gunnar Helm, 2 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown. Gunnar Helm, man, he's a guy that's been in the program for a while now, and I think, JT Sanders is probably headed off to the NFL next year. And I know a lot of people are worried. Man, I really like Gunnar Helm's game. He doesn't have like the speed that JT Sanders has. And his hands probably aren't as good, but I don't really think that's even a negative. JT Sanders probably has the best hands on the team. He might have the best hands on any 2 teams. I think Gunnar Helm's going to fill in quite nicely. I don't think there's going to be a lot of fall off there at the tight end position. The other thing with Gunnar Helm is he's a better blocker. Gunnar Helm's working himself into probably going to the NFL and probably having a nice little career as a tight end in the NFL. Jordan Whittington, 3 catches for 56 yards and a touchdown. Man, I was so glad to see Jordan Whittington finally get a touchdown this year. I love that dude. Jordan Whittington is like, he was so awesome in high school as a running back. He's a guy that's used to scoring. I mean, he scored more in the state championship game his senior year than he scored at Texas through his entire career. And that ain't no knock on him. The poor guy's been injured. He dealt with so many injuries early on in his career. The last couple years, he's finally been able to stay healthy. He's a guy that gets open a ton. And sometimes Ewers just doesn't see him. So I thought it was awesome that they found a way to get him the ball. He scored, had a really nice, neat little 2-point conversion play. That was a neat play. So congrats to Jordan Whittington, man. We called him having a huge game against OU, and he did, man. There could have been so much more and some touchdowns there as well. Quinn just didn't see him, and that's okay. I ain't dogging Quinn for that, but, man, Whittington's your dude. Know where he's at because he gets open. And then Jaden Blue's another guy I thought that popped a little bit. 4 catches for 31 yards. Thought he had a big catch and a nice move to pick up some yardage after one of the holding calls that kind of backed him up out of field goal range. Jaden Blue is kind of got the moniker. He's kind of got the name tag slapped on him of not being very big. He sure looked real big on 4th and 1 carry to ice the game. His rushing stats were not spectacular, but he had some plays in this game that kept some drives going. I think that's big time for a young guy. He third string running back, probably disappointed in the amount of carries he's gotten. Now he's getting the opportunity. He's making plays. Special teams, man, I think number one at the top of the special teams, block PAT for a 2-point conversion by Austin Jordan. I don't know what Tavondre Sweat's nickname is. I don't know if you can get a better nickname than Snacks for Keandre Coburn, but I wish he had a really cool nickname because I would call him it all the time. Dude was just awesome. Mount Cody. Reminded me of Mount Cody. Two big punt returns for Worthy. One of them gets brought back. The long one for the touchdown. Bert Auburn was absolutely nails. 3 for 3 on field goals. 39 yards, 50 yards, and 42 yards. 2 for 2 on his extra points. Kick coverage teams were really, really good. Longest return in this game was 13 yards on a kickoff. I don't think they got outside the 20 on that kickoff either. Final thoughts on this one from Ames, Iowa. I thought it was a really nice win for Texas and Steve Sarkisian. 2 years ago, Texas went up there to Ames and got their asses absolutely embarrassed. 7-7 game at halftime, I believe. 30-7 final. They couldn't block nobody. They couldn't stop Iowa State from running the ball. They couldn't do shit in the trenches. And now they can. Steve Sarkisian finally gets that first 10-win season. And he's got an opportunity to add 3 more. Got a game on Friday. You win that. You get to go to the Big 12 championship game. You win that. Maybe a playoff. Certainly a New Year's Six bowl. A lot of people been running their mouths and having a whole lot to say about Steve Sarkisian never being able to win 10 games. He's fixing to win a lot of 10 games. Washington and USC are not the same thing as Texas. I saw some dude on Twitter the other day say he was at powerhouses like Washington and USC. No. Thought the O-line came up big in the run game against a really solid Iowa State front. The numbers weren't gaudy, but they ran it when they wanted to. I think this game could have easily been a blowout. 2 touchdowns called back. 2 missed deep balls to Mitchell. 10-1 is awesome. Love it, Texas Longhorn fans. Hated everybody else. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about this officiating a little bit. Listen, I am not one of these. The Big 12 is like trying to keep Texas from winning the Big 12. I'm not one of those dudes. However, I feel like they found every opportunity to make a call that went against Texas or blow a call that would have helped Texas. There was a spot play on 2nd and 1 or 2nd and something that ended up, Mitchell clearly had a first down. Half of his body was laying across the marker. The ball should have been spotted, and I don't remember exactly what yard line it was on, but it should have been spotted on the next yard line in, and they spotted it a yard line back, making it 3rd and 1. I won't complain about that one too bad because the very next play, Jordan Whittington scored a touchdown. The fact is, like, how do you miss that? Don't tell me you missed that because you didn't. You did that on purpose. Pass interference early in the game where the ball lands literally 10 feet out of bounds. Horse shit. Rocco Becht was trying to throw the ball away because the coverage was so tight, and you guys bailed him out. Then the non-pass interference on Iowa State's offense in the second half, where the guy clearly pushes Malik Muhammad 5 yards back, turns around to catch the ball. No way you could have missed that either. It was man coverage. Let's talk about these two penalties that brought back 2 scores. Now, listen, I 100% will agree with anybody that those were technically penalties. Technically. But I thought they were both really ticky-tack penalties. I thought it was really ticky-tack to throw flags in both of those situations. That holding call that happened on Mitchell's touchdown, that happens like 4 to 5 times every play. Every single play. Like, if you're going to call it, you're never not calling holding the entire rest of the game. The block in the back didn't start as a block in the back. He just turned into it and made it a block in the back. I don't know, man. There was another spot where they had to review it. It was obvious. Like, I'm watching it from TV, dude. I mean, I'm not even in the same state, and I saw it. How do y'all not see it? Clearly bobbling the ball. This officiating shit, and I expect it to be terrible Friday. I mean, if you're a Texas fan, you're going down to Austin. Yeah, I know if you're a Texas fan, you're watching it. If you're not going, just get ready because it's coming. There's about to be a lot of just asinine, shitty officiating in this game on Friday. The quick and dirty Texas Tech's the last chapter in the Big 12 Fuck You Tour. Texas Tech 6-5 on the season, and they'd love nothing more than to come down to Austin and fuck up Texas's Big 12 championship run. Possibly their college football playoff hopes. That's what Tech does. That's what Tech is. If you can't beat them, fuck their stuff up. That's Tech. Texas obviously looking to avenge last season's 37-34 overtime loss up in Lubbock. Texas leads this series 54-18, winning 3 of the last 5 down in Austin. Texas Tech has not fared well on the road this season, losing 3 of their 5 road games so far in 2023. I think the key matchup in this game is Texas Tech's running game versus that Texas run defense. Texas is a 14.5-point favorite this morning on my book. I've seen 13.5. I've seen 14. I've seen 11. Who knows? The Big 12 is a clown organization. It takes the Big 12 almost 24 hours after the last Big 12 game finished on Saturday night to release a statement to clear up all the confusion that their stupid-ass tie-break rules have caused. Watching Twitter yesterday was one of the funniest. I mean, we're in. No, we're not. We're in. No, we're not. All day long. And then finally, at like 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night, the Big 12 releases some shit. And the release contains like a million scenarios except anything definitive if Texas loses to Texas Tech. And matter of fact, it says, quote, multiple scenarios exist in this circumstance, end quote. Well, tell us what the multiple scenarios are. Why would you leave like any shred of doubt that you aren't trying to manipulate this whole thing in the last minute if you're the Big 12? Since you didn't release any of those multiple scenarios, you can just make up whatever scenario you want. Aggie football's official Twitter, y'all, tweets yesterday, or maybe it was Saturday. Aggie has improved to 17-0 against in-state schools since 2012. First of all, why since 2012? A&M went 3-1 against in-state schools in 2011. And all four of those teams they played are better than any of the ones they've beaten since 2012. So why not include these? Why are we doing 2012? I'll tell you why. It's because they lost to Texas. Check out this list of teams they've beaten since 2012. These we should all be proud because we're 17-0 against in-state Texas schools. Here we go. Abilene Christian, they beat them once on Saturday. Lamar, they beat them twice. This is the most embarrassing. Prairie View A&M, they beat them 3 times. When I was in college football, Prairie View A&M came to Abilene, Texas to play Hardin-Simmons. ESPN was there. Prairie View A&M had the longest losing streak in Division I football at the time. It may have been the longest in history. I'm not sure. Like 30-something games. And so the talk of the town was, is Prairie View A&M going to come in here against the Division III Hardin-Simmons and get a win? Are they finally going to break this streak? No, they lost to Hardin-Simmons. Division I team lost to Hardin-Simmons. That's how bad Prairie View A&M is. Rice 2 times. Sam Houston 2 times. SMU 2 times. Not today SMU. Really shitty SMU from back in the day. Texas State one time. UTEP 1 time. UTSA 3 times. Those are the 17 games that Texas A&M has won against in-state schools. I don't know if this is just an intern that owns this account that doesn't know what's going on, or if the Aggies just really, really needed some positive news. I don't know. But that shit is funny. Hardwood Horns. I finally got a chance to see Texas take on Louisville in the Empire Classic yesterday. A lot of new faces for Texas. I didn't recognize hardly anybody. I don't keep up with basketball recruiting probably like I should. But newcomers Caden Shedrick, and Max Admus led the team in scoring. Shedrick had 27. Admus had 14, including a really highly contested jumper with 0.4 seconds left to win that one 81-80. Really back and forth game there late in that one. Hell of a shot. Texas couldn't make a lot of shots down the stretch. They were missing a lot of long balls. They're just missing. Louisville got a little hot from behind the arc. Looked like it might be done. It's a hell of a shot. Horns improved to 4-0 and take on top 5 ranked UConn tonight at 6 p.m. So we'll probably have that one on. Check us out tomorrow on Deep Dive. Usually Thursday, but Tuesday this time. We'll have Sean's 4 big questions of the game. We'll take a look at how Texas and Texas Tech match up and look on paper. Check out the podcast anywhere you listen to the podcasts. You can find us on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Follow and subscribe. Won't cost you guys a thing. I would appreciate the support. You can email me at horntakespodcast@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms. I love them all. You guys have a good Monday. Get hooked.